guys, happy bonus book club day. And we've been reading Down a Dark Hall by Lois Duncan, which was really good. I really liked it. And it's so warm here in the UK today. I've got my fan next to me, so if you can hear a noise, let me know and I'll turn it off. But it's so warm today. I hope everyone's coping okay. Right, I'm just going to add in our special guest. Hey, everybody. Hey. Right, let's add everybody in. So I loved it. Loved it. Spoilers, I loved it. Right, let's add everyone in. See, I talk too. Hi, Sharron. I talk too much and then I forget who I've added in.
Oh, it's only little me.
Oh no, it's wonderful you and wonderful Melina.
Hello.
Right, we're missing Shelly, so let me add Shelly in. There we go. Right, hopefully I've got everyone, and hopefully no one can hear my fan because I'm hugging the fan right now. It's so warm. Hi, Shelly.
Hey guys.
It's our bonus, as was it Sharron who made the name up? Bonus book club babes.
Yeah. Oh, so good.
Love it. Woo!
Love it. Woohoo! Oh, thanks for joining us. I've been so excited to talk to you about this book because I think Sharron recommended this book when we did Stranger in My Face, and it was good. I loved it. I actually really like this better than Stranger in My Face.
Yeah,
I'm just saying it. It was brilliant. Chef's kiss. Yes, Teddy said love this book. Yeah, I did as well. So we're joined by wonderful friends. Can't hear the fan. Thanks, Karen. It's like literally right there.
Yeah.
I'm so warm.
Yeah, I've got one too.
Mine's on as well. So yeah.
Oh dear.
Fan power.
Yeah. Oh, it's so hot today. I can't cope with this heat. I'm not built for it. I'm really not. So joining us again to discuss this wonderful Lois Duncan book, which I think is becoming a theme for the four of us. So we've got the wonderful Sharron, who's the host of Indie Horror Book Club, celebrating all things indie horror, and is basically just a true champion of indie horror and a wonderful friend. So yay to Sharron! We've got the wonderful Melina joining us, who's just a truly lovely person, does fab book reviews, dear friend of mine. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And we've got the brilliant Shelly Mack, who's author of children's books, including picture books, young adult fiction. The Awesome Landis came out last year, which I'll put a link up to later. And you're so busy, Shelly. You run a Meet the Author programme, co-host of the Book Jam podcast. So busy. Busy lady and wonderful friend as well.
I know. I need a holiday.
Yay! So we're all here ready to talk about Down a Dark Hall, which the tagline on mine says, at Blackwood School For Girls, the private lessons might kill you. And I was like, ooh, I like a lesson that... No, I don't really like a lesson that might kill me, but, you know. I just saw Claire said this book was amazing. Larissa said glad people loved it. April said so much better than Stranger with My Face. Lois Duncan at her best, definitely.
So good.
Yeah. And Larissa said, though, April, I do love A Stranger in My Face. Yeah, she does. Oh, and Larissa suggested our next one, which would be Summer of Fear. So we'll have to sort that out and read that one.
Yeah, sounds
so we're
good.
adding to the TBR as we go. So this one was first published in 1974. So this was before Stranger in My Face came out, because that was the 80s, I think. And the book basically follows our main character, Kit. Is it Gordy? I think her surname was.
Gordy, yeah.
That's what I kept calling her. Who is basically sent to boarding school where there's only 4 students are admitted, including herself. So it sounds, perfect. But the students suddenly develop new talents, with Kit waking up one night playing a musical piece she's never heard of before. And after they are told that they have been channeling the spirits of talented historical figures, Kit tries to escape the school before the bond between the spirits and the students become permanent. I know, woo. So Duncan apparently began working on the novel on the basis of a suggestion from her editor, who had never seen a gothic novel written for young adults at the time, which I thought was quite interesting. Because then I was trying to think, can I think of any from around that time? But I couldn't, I will be honest. And one version of the novel that she submitted, the publisher actually returned to her for revisions because all of the victims in the story were female, whereas the spirits were all male. So the editor said, no, you need to change something up here. And the publisher was worried about that. And apparently it's the only gothic novel that Lois Duncan ever wrote, which I think is really sad because she wrote it so good.
She really excels at it, doesn't she? It's
like,
don't you think it's to say it's from 1974, how well it's held up, this book.
Yeah.
Because
100%.
timeline wise.
Yeah. And what a travesty that she didn't write any more like gothic horror. I just thought, such a travesty. They did do a film adaptation of the book, which starred Anna Sophia Robb and Uma Thurman, which was released in 2018. Which I haven't had a chance to watch yet, but I will be watching it definitely.
I have watched
Neither.
I've watched it for you.
Oh yes,
is it good?
We'll have a chat about that then.
Yeah.
Was it good?
I like a cheesy film. It's not as cheesy as the Stranger with My Face film, and they definitely used more of the book. And I liked what they did because they put it in a contemporary setting, but they did they kept with the themes.
Good.
But yeah, Uma Thurman with a dodgy accent, she let me down a little bit. I was like, Uma Thurman, it must be brilliant because I really enjoyed that.
That's what I was thinking.
But yeah, if you can get past the accent, it's. But yeah, I recommend.
I'm definitely going to give it a watch.
I recommend a watch.
Yeah, definitely going to give that a watch. Oh, hi Susan. I think that's Shazzy's sister.
Hi.
Shazzy's sister here. Claire said, I do not recommend They Never Came Home. Is that another Lois Duncan book, is it?
Is that because it's really bad? Because if it's really bad, we'll definitely be reading it.
Is it like cheesy bad or like just bad?
Yeah, is it
That's what we need to know.
Or just rubbish, yeah.
Karen said, I haven't read the book, but I'm here for the fun and spooky chat. Yeah. Well, sorry to spoil the book. But Claire watched the film as well and said she enjoyed the film. So yeah. Oh, Lois Duncan, They Never Came Home. I have that one, but I've never read it. Let us know, Claire. What is it? Cheesy bad or bad?
And who never came home?
So have you read, so obviously Sharron, you suggested the book, so have you read Down a Dark Hall before, have you? What were your memories when you first read it? Do you remember?
They're vague because it's from the 90s, so bear with me because I was an adult in the 90s, right? So I read this in LAX airport in 1993 when I was waiting for my plane, which was delayed, and it was in the bookshop. And then I went in to look for a Stephen King, but I'd read them all. And I just liked the cover. It was very different to the ones we've all got now. It was really it did look very gothic. It was this like picture of I think it was a girl with a candle or something. And I thought, oh, that looks fun. And it was like a mass market paperback, so I thought I'd give it a go. And I remember really enjoying it and thinking, oh, actually, this is, for a young adult didn't really exist then. It was children's or adults. For something that was aimed for younger people, it was actually really quite creepy. So that's when I just have fond memories. I don't know whether I have fond memories of the book or fond memories of that time of my life, really. But yeah. So it's and I think it stands up to a reread.
Definitely.
Honestly.
Yeah, it really did.
And you're saying like they sent it back because they had female students and male entities. In the 70s, that was actually quite progressive when you think about it. that they sent that back and said, actually, that's not appropriate.
Yeah,
we need to
that
be doing
is
that.
actually.
That's actually very progressive.
That
really.
is, it's good.
So, yeah, I
Yeah,
think it stands up. I think it stands up.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, I do as well. And Shelly, is this the first time you've read this one?
Yeah, so like as you all know, I loved Stranger with My Face when I was young, and it was like one of my all-time favourite books growing up. And I used to go to, like, obviously you didn't have the internet and things like that, so you couldn't say, like, look up Lois Duncan and see how many books she had out. So I would go to the library, and the only other one that they had there was I Know What You Did Last Summer. And so I read that one, and Stranger with My Face. It was the only two that was in my library. Montrose is a very small beachy town in Scotland. That's where I grew up. So for me, I was very limited with what I had. And whenever this book was suggested, I was like, oh, yes. I was like, why have I never just gone and read all of Lois Duncan's books? So, and I definitely will do that now because I absolutely adored this. Although I do have to say, I finished it like 2 minutes before sleeping.
Well, at least your thoughts will be fresh.
True. Good point. Very good point. They will be very fresh. But yeah, I loved it. It's good.
Oh, brilliant. I'm sorry if I'm over talking as well, because I think I've got a lag my end, so I do apologise if I over talk anyone. Don't know what's going on. It's the fan. Is it the first time you've read it, Melina, as well?
Yeah, first time read for me. I said in our previous chat, I hadn't come across Lois Duncan. When I was growing up, I didn't come across Lois Duncan at all. And then I was like aware of her having written the book that, oh my gosh, my brain this evening is not, I know what you did last summer is based on. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm spaced out this evening.
It's the heat.
So yeah, I knew that's what she wrote the book for that. But yeah, that's all I knew. So Stranger with My Face was my first Lois Duncan read, and then now this is my second, and I'll definitely be reading more because I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, definitely. I just saw Claire said that it's bad, so that's that Never Came Home. But maybe we might just have to read it, like, because sometimes I do like a bad book.
I feel like I want to read it now because of that.
Sometimes the bad ones are the best.
It's like, don't eat those cookies in the cookie jar. They are absolutely crap. And you're like,
and you're like,
you have to try it.
Yeah, so Claire said They Never Came Home is just totally implausible and not remotely chilling, thrilling or spooky. Hard to believe it's the same author. Oh, interesting.
Oh,
okay. Larissa said, don't look behind you, really test the patience, and The Twisted Window had me rolling my eyes, but other than that, I've enjoyed all the ones of Lois Duncan that she's read. Sharron said, April said, Sharron, your memory is incredible.
It's remarkable, really, to be honest, because I spent a lot of that period of time hungover, so it's remarkable I remember anything, really.
I love that. April said Daughters of Eve is April's favourite. And yeah, Killing Mr. Griffin, Heather said, was made into a made-for-TV movie.
Oh, was
Karen's
Katie Holmes not in that?
Oh, yeah, she might have been.
I don't know why. I seem to think she was in it, but I haven't seen it. But I was going through a whole Dawson's Creek thing when I was younger, and I remember seeing a film come out. I'm sure it was Killing Mr. Griffin. I might be wrong.
Yeah. So, but I think she was in a film that was about killing a teacher. I remember that too.
Oh, okay. So maybe it was a different one.
Because I know at the time in the news there was that there'd been a teacher killing, and they were like umming and ahhing whether to release the film or not. I remember all of that going on, but I don't know if it was based on that book or not.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think it was
but the film
Teaching Mrs. Tingle.
Yeah.
Yes,
that might be it.
Yeah,
sorry,
they changed
Teaching Mrs. Tingle.
Yeah,
that's definitely it.
Yeah. In the 90s, where a lot of teachers kept getting killed off, didn't they? It was a thing, wasn't it? In the news.
It was.
Yeah.
It was. Yeah. And Karen said, wait, she wrote I Know What You Did Last Summer. Oh, Karen.
We'll have to do that one at some point.
Yeah. Yes. And could we do a movie tie-in as well?
Yeah.
A movie as well. Yeah.
I've got to watch that again.
Maybe the TV series as well, even though it's so bad. Have you seen the TV?
Was it a TV series of it?
They made a TV series like a couple of years ago, but it's really not very good.
Oh, okay.
but it's worth it is worth it for the lols.
Yeah, gotta be worth it for the lows.
Yeah. Oh, Michelle Williams was in Killing Mr. Griffin, so yeah, definitely Dawson's
Dawson's
Creek link there.
Creek, okay, I was close.
Yeah, definitely. Love Dawson's Creek.
Me
So
too.
the novel kind of begins as Kit leaves her town with her newlywed mother and stepfather, who I hated.
Oh,
Who can get in the bin. And they decided to drop her off before leaving for honeymoon. And they kind of reach the boarding school, a place called Blackwood, and they're struck by how foreboding it is. And I think Kit even says, it feels evil. But the parents just don't really care. They still just say farewell and depart for their vacation for sexy
for
time.
a year. They went on honeymoon
for a year. I know,
Who
come
goes
on.
honeymoon for a year?
Who does that?
That's point horror parents on acid, isn't it? That.
Yes, that is.
For a year. A whole year just to travel around Europe. I mean, I underlined that in the book, and I went because I could forgotten that. A year? Where are we in the 1800s? Anyway, sorry, Shelly, I interrupted.
No,
no,
not at all. I was horrified as well, Sharron. Like, I was like, wait a sec, and I'm glad you clarified it was a year, because I was like, no, it couldn't be a year, but it was.
Unbelievable.
Nice, yeah. So, are we all shocked at that? We're all like, yeah, basically, ditch your child, go off for a honeymoon, and that stepdad just didn't like, not one little bit at all. He was like, he just wanted Kit gone, in my opinion, and out of the way. But obviously our main protagonist is Kit, and I read that Lois Duncan did actually model Kit after her daughter Kerry, who wasn't the one who sadly died, but yeah, apparently modelled the daughter on Kit on the daughter. So what did you think of Kit as like a main character? Like, did you like her? Did you say consistent throughout the book, Sharron?
I thought she was pretty consistent. I thought to begin with she was a little bit frightened of her stepdad, because she was quite vehement about, she didn't want to stay there, she wanted to go back to her friend, she thought something was wrong, and as soon as he said no, she backed off very quickly. But I think later on you realise that actually she just wants her mom to be happy. So I think that was probably, she just thinks her mom's happy, and and that's good. I think she was pretty consistent. I thought she was quite feisty.
Yeah.
I mean, I just, you know what I mean? I mean, we'll get to the end later on, but what she does at the end is very brave. And I think she's pretty consistent. She knows something's going on. As soon as she realises what it is, she's fighting all the way. So yeah, I liked her a lot.
Yeah, I really liked her as well, definitely. How about you, Shelly? Did you like Kit?
Yeah, I thought she was a very strong protagonist, and I thought that she stayed very true to herself. And I liked how, I actually felt as if there was this similarity with, how she said she saw her dad before, like she knew, like in the plane crash, she knew that he had died and he'd appeared at the end of her bed.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking, this is quite like Stranger with My Face, but then I was thinking it's like the movie. Do you remember the movie was different from the book of Stranger with My Face? And the dad was actually there in her room at the very beginning, so she knew that he had died. And I was like, it was like all like this weird kind of movie and book tie-in at that point. And I was like, but it was quite cool. So it was like almost like they took a wee bit of that and put it into that film. But that's me going off on a tangent. But in terms of Kit, I felt like kind of what you said, Sharron, like when she was that sort of self-sacrificing at the end of the first chapter for her mother, so that like my mum's happy, she's wanting me to be happy, so I'm going to be happy for her. I was like, yeah, I love you. I was like, she's a good character, a good strong character, and I loved how she actually really did put other people first, and you obviously see that as a consistent theme throughout the course of the book, I thought. So yeah, I was really, really proud of that character. I thought that she was written really well.
Yeah, definitely. And I knew I'd recognised in my mind the thing with the dad. I thought this sounds familiar, and you just hit the nail on the head. What it was from the
That
film.
film.
Yeah,
I wonder
I didn't click. I
if the
knew it
person who
felt
did the film had
familiar.
read both those books and joined them together.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Clever clogs.
Yeah.
How about you, Melina? Did you like Kit?
Yeah, I thought she was a really engaging main character, and I loved her from the beginning. I love how she questioned everything. She had her eyes wide open, and how she was just like interacting with everybody around her, and she spoke her mind. And like the point where she's fighting to wake up from her dream, and she's like, "No, I will wake up," and she does. It's like she really,
Yeah.
she really sees through her beliefs. So yeah, and I really enjoyed her as the character. I thought it was really refreshing that, because for me, she was quite a super strong character for a YA book of that time as well.
Yeah.
I just thought she was something quite fresh.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I agree, definitely. And I also loved as well about her that she, like, when you in her mind, she does give you those vulnerable moments. Like, I think there's a bit when she's looking in the mirror that's down the hallway, and she's like, she didn't feel like she looked herself, and she's like, the eyes were those of a girl who was not as sure on the inside as she appeared outwardly to be.
Yes.
And I just love that quote, and I just
Self-aware,
thought,
isn't
that's
it?
just
Yeah.
And I thought, I really liked her, and I loved how strong she was, but she had those vulnerable moments. And we'll talk about it at the end, but I loved her especially at the end as well. Thought she was brilliant.
Yeah, definitely.
Even more so that, like, she was loosely based on one of her daughters, about Lois Duncan's daughters as well. I saw Teddy put, maybe jumping the gun, but am I the only one who wants to know what the poem was about that was apparently so horrific?
Oh yeah.
So sad.
I feel she missed a trick there, I feel.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it must have been really bad. But why didn't we get to know?
I kept on thinking it was like a serial killer or something.
No, I think it was something. It's got to have been something really bad. I wonder if she put it in and then it got edited out.
That's what I was thinking.
Maybe. Good point.
Yeah. Claire said, I preferred the film for the reason she ended up in the school. Seemed a bit more believable. So I think in the film, the parents don't go off on honeymoon. I think that she's just a troubled soul or something, a troubled teen or something like that.
Yeah. And they get the teens that get picked for the school. They're all handpicked through psych assessments. So they put an extra character in another teacher, and this teacher goes along to these psych assessments and offers this wonderful opportunity for like a last chance solution for getting your life back on track. So I thought that was done really well, and I think it needed to do that to bring it up to date for a film audience.
Sure.
Other than the honeymoon.
Yeah. And I liked it because the character, they did choose different characters but kept with the themes, and the misfit, they're all misfits in the film as well as they are in the book. So it worked well. Yeah.
That's good. Teddy said Kit equals strong female lead, really liked her. And Larissa's just reminded me that I have already covered that I Know What You Did Last Summer film, and I forgot, but it wasn't Larissa and Brooker.
You've done so much, darling. It's not surprising.
I know. We can do it again though. It's totally fine. we can do it again.
Absolutely.
April said, and even though she thought Jules was so cute, she didn't let him manipulate her. Yes.
Yeah.
So like, I kind of like the fact that even though like she's 14, right, and she kind of had like, you know what you like when you're 14. I remember like you're swooning over the teachers or whatever, and but I like the fact that like there was no love interest in the book. How did you find that, Sharron?
I don't like any romance at all, as you know. Makes me feel quite nauseous. So I enjoyed that. I thought as well, unlike a lot of point horror, she wasn't dappy with it. Do you know what I mean? She kind of, she thought he was handsome and she thought he was attractive, but she wasn't all kind of. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In fact, she did really well, because he said to her, didn't he? Oh, if only I'd known you in a different environment and different circumstances. So she did really well not to give in to herself, didn't she? Really,
she didn't moon. And when she came out of her dream and he was sat there, she really laid into him. I mean, you know, that was like, I don't care that you're pretty to look at. You're an idiot. What's going on?
Yeah.
And so I quite like that, you know?
Yeah. I love that as well. Like Claire said, I liked how the Jules Crush just didn't take over or become the focus. So did you like that, Shelley, that it didn't become like a thing?
Yeah, I did. To be honest, because with the part that you just talked about there, Melina, where he said if only things were different to her, I was sitting there thinking, wait a minute, she's 14 and he's like, you never find out his age, but you're assuming he's obviously maybe under 20, but a lot older. And I was like, this is not really appropriate, you know. That was my first thought there. But I agree with the bit where she finally realizes what's happening and she's playing the piano and she wakes up and he's there. At that moment, Sharron, I was sitting thinking, oh, Sharron is going to love this because it's not going to turn into a love thing. I genuinely thought of you at that moment. And I loved that. I loved it. It did not need, it wasn't about that. It wasn't about, it really would have spoiled it for me if there had been any love interest. That it really just was not about that. And it was absolutely not needed in this story.
Yeah. And do you agree, Melina? Yeah, like, no love, no love interest in this book.
Yeah,
woohoo!
I think that, you know, everything that it was exploring, all the themes that were in this book, I think a love interest would have detracted from that. It just didn't need to be in there. So and then in a way, it was like almost like a good teaching point of like of seeing beyond the surface of someone as well, wasn't it? That she, you know, that she realized in the end that, you know, he was his own vulnerable, flawed person. And so I think it was done well.
There was like a scene that made me laugh with him though, where she walks in, and I know this book was in the 70s, but in my mind I was just reading it in like, I think it was modern day. She walked in, he's wearing like a blue shirt which was like open at the front with like white flares, and I was like, yes. I had to just go back and read it, and I was like, that is style.
70s born, isn't it? It's 70s born star. That's what he was
Oh dear, it did just make me laugh. So what did you think of the setting of Blackwood School? Like, would you have stayed there? Was it creepy to you, Melina?
So this was actually one of my favourite things about the book, because I thought the setting description was fabulous. And I don't know whether you've read, Sharron, I know you've read Haunting of Hill House. I got such Haunting of Hill House vibes from it. The way when they drive up to the school and she has this feeling of the building being evil, and then later on the girls talk about the house having a personality. It's very Haunting of Hill House. So I really enjoyed that. I don't know whether that was intentional or not, but really enjoyed the description, and like how the house was like this, almost like it says it was like made of puzzle pieces, and you get this feeling that everything's going to be quite complicated going on in there. And then the foreshadowing of the glowing windows and the stained glass, and all the dark hallways inside, and I just absolutely loved it.
Me too.
Gothic.
How about you, Shelley? Did you like it?
Yes. So when I was reading the kind of opening couple of chapters and they came up to the school, I literally stopped to write down this, the imagery here. It's like the school is a character in itself. And then it was just like, as it unfolded, it was described like that in the book anyway. And I was like, really, the building itself came to life, and very, very quickly. So it was right there in the story. But I loved all the Gothic vibes. It was brilliant. Really good setting for the story.
Yeah, same. How about you, Sharron? Did you like the creepy setting?
Gothic fiction, especially Edwardian and Victorian Gothic fiction, is my favourite genre of all time. So I agree completely with Melina. It did have that Shirley Jackson kind of vibe to it, and it was very much kind of it felt kind of Victorian in a way. Do you know what I mean? I know it wasn't. It was electric. And why couldn't they get an electrician? What was that about? But anyway, it felt like the lighting was kind of gaslit, and there was a lot of gaslighting in this book. Let's be honest, of all sorts. But it was, it felt like it was gaslit. Do you know what? Why was the hallway so dark? But I love that, like very dark wainscoting, and then when they finished dinner, well, they go and sit in the parlour. It's just so old fashioned and just kind of cozy, But yeah, it was absolutely I thought the description, the imagery created from describing the building was great. Like when she's pulling up and she feels like it's looking at her almost, so that she can sense that kind of evil presence from it. I don't think it was an evil presence in the end. I think it was a sad presence. I think that the previous owner had lived in sadness and distress for so long that was what she was feeling. But initially you get that kind of gothic fear, don't you?
Yeah. Definitely, yeah. I mean, I'll be honest. If I was driving up that drive, I wouldn't go in it. If I got that feeling,
I would too. I'd go in. I'd be really intrigued.
Maybe if I was with like people, like maybe like you lot, and definitely Nerissa, because Nerissa would protect me definitely. Like maybe, like
I'd be
I would
the Ouija board to call the spirits. Let's have a go.
I'd be joining in.
Yeah, I think
I'd be hightailing it out of there. I'm
a
Shelly. Oh no, I'd be like, oh, someone help me.
The two Shelleys would be gone. You'd just see us like running and climbing.
I'm like, where's the nearest pub?
Yeah.
I hate to tell you this, Shelly, but we've locked the gate after you got in.
Oh, oh, that's funny.
Dear. April said, "Oh my God, yes, so many haunting of Hill House vibes." Nerissa said, "Love the opening description." Yes, Melina was literally just typing that about Haunting of Hill House. Heather said, "It kind of reminded me of Flowers in the Attic, especially at the end when she turns and looks at it." Oh yeah, like when Kathy does at the end. Yeah, I didn't think that. Teddy said, definitely Shirley Jackson, Hill House vibes, one of my fave books of all time.
Yeah, it's a good book.
And Claire said, I loved the setting. I loved how it was all set up to be classic haunted house town and ended up being something so much darker. Yeah.
And I also thought that to do with the setting as well, the weather description was fabulous as well. And then as the stakes got higher and higher and that storm started building up, and I just thought that together with all the building description, it's just so classic Gothic, isn't it? Using the weather to do the storytelling.
Yeah,
that's good.
Definitely.
Very on
Heather said it reminded me of Flowers in the Attic at the end when I've just read that one, sorry. It's the heat. We're blaming the heat today. Nerissa said, from what I remember, isn't it that there isn't the money for much power? Yeah. Well, I think it was just like a con, like really they just, they liked it dark.
Trying to get the atmosphere, because she sold the Vermeer. So we're not a real one, but she sold the Vermeer. She had money. So I think it was just a way of setting up the atmosphere so that they were susceptible to being possessed.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Claire said, I'd happily visit, have a nice dinner, read in the parlour and get the hell out before midnight. That sounds good. And Heather said she posted that comment twice, so it wasn't me. I thought I was going mad then. I was like, wait. I mean, it's happened before. It's normally me, to be honest. So the book kind of explores ESP, like extrasensory perception. Is this something that you believe in, Melina?
I believe in intuition and gut feelings, and I call it my spidey senses. That I do have. There are things that I don't, not that I see coming, but I have feelings about. So yeah, I'm really open to it, actually. I'd like to learn more about it. I thought it was really interesting how Lois Duncan's gone for another kind of spiritual, psychological kind of theme in this, like she did with Stranger in My Face and the astral projection kind of thing. I think that's really interesting that she took another theme like that. But yeah, I just think it's really interesting. I don't know enough about it, but yeah, I definitely believe in intuition and gut feeling. And there's some interesting stories, and I was talking to my husband Simon about it, and he was talking about studies that he'd heard of with, you know, at different universities and stuff. So yeah, I'd really like to know more about it.
Yeah. And like, as you say, like, you know, it was astral projection last time and then ESP now. It does make you want to explore it and learn a little bit more about it. Definitely. How about you, Shelley? Do you believe in ESP?
So I feel like the brain is just such a intricate working, and there's so much that like so many people could be capable of. But I think that it might be like the way it's displayed in this book, that only certain folk might be able to tap into that part of their minds. So I definitely do think that it's something that I could imagine to be a real thing. Like I like, it kept on bringing back, like there was once this night where I was just going down to my bed, and I felt like somebody tuck my hair behind my ear, but not like in a bad way, like in a comforting way, like as in taking care of me. And I just assumed it was my husband. So I turned round and he was sound asleep, and I was like, oh, what was that? Do you know what I mean? But there's been a couple of wee things like that that's happened in my life, you know, so. And not that I'm saying I've got ESP or anything like that, definitely not. But I can see how that I do think that there's this other plane, and like, I mean, I've also got a very strong faith in things as well. So I do think that there's all this different stuff out there that just maybe not all of us know about, you know. So I found it really interesting. I liked all the different levels that it can explore as well with ESP. It's not just like you're just one basic thing. It can just go off on lots of different tangents. So I'd like to kind of look into it a wee bit more and study that. I think it's really interesting. Yeah. And I do like what you said, Melina, that she did another like psychological element into her story. And I thought that's what made the story. I thought the storytelling was absolutely brilliant. So yeah, it was really good.
Yeah, it was really, really good. How about you, Sharron? Are you a believer?
I've had a lot of very strange experiences, including a very strange little boy in my house.
Wow.
Tell us more.
No. No. I think that the brain is a very complicated thing, like you say, and I think you can make it think and do things that are outside of yourself. I don't have any faith in that kind of thing. So, and I don't believe in ghosts and spirits. I think that they are just past memories and flashes of things that people have seen before. So, so I don't really like the idea of somebody messing with me psychologically. I find that quite disturbing. The idea of being a conduit of channeling something else, I find that deeply disturbing for me personally. And so it's interesting, but I'm not sure I believe in it.
Yeah, it's like I always remember this. Like, not long after my nan passed away, like my nan used to make the best apple pie ever. It was like, I don't know what she did to it, and I never ever got the recipe, but she used to make the best apple pie. And I used to wake up not long after my nan passed away, and I could literally taste it. Like, I could taste, whether that's just muscle memory from it, or whether it was like her telling, like, I always think to this day, maybe it was her just like giving me a little like last taste of the pie kind of thing. But so I think I do believe it to a certain extent, but I'd like to know more about it. Do you know what I mean?
I think it depends whether it gives you comfort or it scares you. If it gives you comfort, then there's nothing, that's fine, isn't it? But if it's something that would really disturbs you, then it's best not to look into it, I think. You know what I mean?
No, that's true. Yeah. I have enough nightmares as it is. I don't need any more. Oh dear. I just saw Narissa said it's something that she incorporates into several books. So like these different like kind of supernatural elements, and I love that. And Narissa said, definitely feel we're more connected than we realise, and always pay attention to gut feelings. Yes, pretty sure Melina got a text to check in after I dreamt about her. Yeah.
She did. Yeah.
That gut feeling, I'm a big believer in gut feelings,
Yeah,
definitely.
me too.
Yeah, and Heather says, love that, Shelly had similar experiences. Yeah, and April said, that's sweet, Shelly. Yeah, it was so weird, like, and I couldn't tell you what it tasted like now, but at the time I was like, tasty. She's back.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah, so is it Madame Duret? I think I'm saying that right. I might be saying it wrong. But she kind of chose these 4 girls in the hope that they would open up channels for communication with the dead founders and all these like famous artists and things like that, who were unable to finish their life's work. And I liked the kind of way that she portrayed the ghosts as quite frightening in a way, but you never really knew their distinguishing features.
No.
And I kind of like that. There was no description of them, but they still seemed so scary. So when it changed to that aspect, because like Claire said earlier, you thought it was going one way and then all of a sudden it changed to this other way. When it changed to like that aspect of ghosts and possession and things, were you quite surprised? Did you like that, Sharron?
Well, I have to say, I'm going to say to begin with, the first chapter of my book, whoever owned my book first had changed Duret to Duvet. So for the first chapter, I thought the headmistress was called Madame Duvet, which I thought was hysterical. So that made me laugh. It still makes me laugh just thinking about it. I thought it was really, really clever, and I thought that the idea that that she'd found these 4 children, because they're children, remember, they're not adults, these are children, which are more susceptible anyway. And they all got like different aspects, didn't they? So one of them got art, and one of them got mathematics and literature and music. And I thought it was really sad that actually could have been a great experiment. I understood the experimentation, and I kind of liked Ruth for that, because once she realised what was happening, she was like, oh, this is brilliant. All these ideas are coming into my head, and I want to know. And
I noted that down.
Yeah, and I thought, I probably would be the same. I'd want to know. But the fact that they were using it for monetary gain kind of ruined it for me a little bit. I was just like, that kind of disappointed. Not the story, but in them. I was disappointed in them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. I thought, well, this is a wonderful experiment, a scientific experiment. And you're ruining it by just using it for money, rather than using it for what you could find out. So I thought it was such a clever storyline. Yeah. And so I really, really enjoyed it. Although, I mean, poor Linda. Yeah. I mean, she was taken over, wasn't she?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, she was possessed completely.
Yeah, completely possessed.
Yeah.
By the greedy ghost.
Greedy ghost.
Yeah.
What did you think, Melina? Did you expect it to go that route, or was you surprised?
I had an inkling that it would when they started talking about that they'd seen like when Kit said that she'd seen her father, and they started sharing experiences, and I thought, that's the criteria. But I thought it was a really clever concept, and not something I'd come across as such. I also thought it was really interesting way of exploring consent, because these girls didn't know. They had absolutely no say in what was physically and mentally being done to them. So I thought it was a really good way of exploring that in the book as well. But I liked the lighter, but when the ghosts were nice, like Emily Bronte, which when Emily Bronte came into it, I was like, I'm a massive Emily Bronte fan. So I was like, but I liked that there was some slightly lighter aspects to it, but then the darkness of like once those gateways are open, and how there's so little controlling it, and these adults thinking that they can and they actually can't, and then deep down knowing that, but like throwing these girls to the lions anyway, and saying, insanity, whatever, it doesn't matter as long as the means justify the end justifies the means. I just thought it was so much to explore there. Really interesting.
Yeah. No, definitely. How about you, Shelley? Did you like that aspect?
Yeah, I did. I would say for the most part, I was really quite like pleasantly surprised. I had no sort of clue really as to where it was going. Like I did, obviously, you saw that all the characters were being used for something and that they were doing something that was out with their control, but I didn't know what way it was going to go. And I loved it. And at first it was quite cool, you know, and especially like again when I was the Emily Bronte part, I was like, how cool would it be to hang out with Emily Bronte? And immediately thought of you, Melina. I was like, Melina is going to be loving this bit. I bet she's highlighting parts and everything. I was like, she's going to be loving this so much. So yeah, and it just made me smile thinking of my friend feeling that way. So that was lovely. And yeah, but then it really took a dark turn, and I think that what you need to realise, and why I don't understand that people don't realise this, is when you're messing with spirits and the dead, that you're going to get the bad with the good always. You know, you're never going to, you're messing with a different realm, a different thing. So it's always going to be very unpredictable, and the real bad stuff can also creep in with the good. So I kind of liked how it then got that way, and it showed that side that, you know, you be careful what you're doing. But it got to the point where Madame Duret, what did we say? Duret?
I think I kept
Duret.
saying Duret, but we're saying Duvet now.
Duvet. Madame Duvet. Yeah, that's what I thought.
They said Duret in the film.
Duvet.
Oh, Duvet, right,
Duvet.
Duvet. So I was thinking that it's obviously she started off on a certain path thinking this is really cool, I can tap into this, I'm talented enough to do that. But then, as what money does to so many people, the love of money has taken over there, and she's just seen the pound signs and doesn't care what it does to people. And I think it was like evil in a different way by the end, you know, because it showed the evil of humanity. And that's basically how I kind of felt. So I felt as if I liked the way how it went in one direction, the next another direction, and then it kind of ended off with the real evil at the end, who I felt was Madame Duvet.
Duvet. Oh,
honest to God,
forget.
God, it made me howl laughing. I thought that was her name.
Oh dear. Well, I agree. I agree with all of you. Like, it definitely opened up conversation about consent. Like Melina said, I've noted that down as well. And you know what? I loved Kit for that she like really stood up for that as well. She was like, no, this isn't right. It's like my body, da 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 da. And I loved that with Kit.
Yeah, brilliant.
But then on the other hand as well, not justifying it, but like Madame Duvet, she kind of, her reasons initially were when she does this big speech about, you know, people died way too young, and, you know, it was such a wasted talent that they died, and we live to be older now and stuff like that. At that point, I was like,
I was quite on board. Yeah, I was on board with that. I think, you know, if you could safely channel a ghostie that had died too early, I'd be quite happy to do some writing for the Brontes, to be honest.
Find a cure for cancer.
Well, yeah.
Or, you know, find the mysteries of the universe.
Yeah. That too.
Now do.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna. Funny enough, I was going to ask, like, if you could channel anybody, like a historical figure who's obviously uber talented, like, who would you channel? Melina?
Yeah, I think I've got the Brontes in my head, so I really would, because, and I know there are lots of worthier, probably, well, there are worthier people who could have done a lot more work in their short lives, but I think for me personally, I'm having a year of rereading all the Bronte books, and I've done a lot of reading about them, and I love Haworth where they lived, and so yeah, and they did just I just find them fascinating, and they just didn't live long enough. So yeah, I'd be there for them if they wanted me to be. And also, like, if I could be like Ruth and kind of tap into, you know, some of their writing, then you know, I'd learn from it too. So lovely.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Oh, how about you, Sharron? Who would you tap into, or let someone tap into you? Oh, it sounds wrong. Just go for it.
It sounds wrong, doesn't it? Yes. Like I'm some kind of beer barrel or something, and he's going to tap in. I'm the shaper one, but I'd rather not be channeled.
Oh, Sharron!
No.
It's what it is. I would go for like a great physicist, because one of my favourite characters apart from Kit was Ruth. I really liked Ruth, because I think that the spirit she was channeling didn't actually use her in the same way. They just put ideas into her head, and she was the one who wrote them down, right? So I don't think she was channeling in the same way where they were losing consciousness. So to me, it would be a physicist, but it would be an old one, like Galileo or something. Do you have the idea of somebody in the 15th century who sat there and thought, the sun's, the Earth's not the centre of the universe. How did he know that?
Yeah.
I want to be in his head, or Da Vinci, something like that. Not from the art perspective, although I love the art, but from the inventing perspective, that somebody, that very modern ideas in an ancient time, that kind of thing fascinates me, really. So it would probably be something like that. Temporarily, and I'd be in control.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Love that. How about you, Shelly? Who would you let in? No, I can't say what I was going to say.
It's okay. I got it.
It's going really wrong.
Well, just to clarify, I would like to just to clarify, I'd like to hang out with Jane Austen. She would just be my, when I was thinking about this question that you were going to ask, I was immediately just thinking of authors, but I love what you've said, Sharron, about tapping into much more brilliant things that could actually help the world on a much larger scale. But if it was an author, it was definitely be Jane Austen, because she just did not write enough, and I would love to read more of her work. So I read Jane Austen. I reread her books all the time, and I just felt as if her life just was too short, and she really probably had so much more to give. I mean, some of her books obviously never even got finished, so I could help her finish the books properly the way that she had intended. I would like that. I'd like that.
I mean, I'm sounding philanthropic, Shelly, but honestly, I'd also quite like to channel Einstein to see what happened with his hair. So, there's several sides to me. Do you know what I mean? Cure for cancer, hair care.
Love them all.
Oh, dear. Well, I don't know whether I should share what I wrote down, because I didn't think about it.
Share.
You're gonna laugh. I wrote down Kurt Cobain because I feel like he was just in his prime, and his music would have got just gone from strength to strength. So we needed to hear what that music would be.
Absolutely.
And I'm a huge
I could see you doing a whole Kurt Cobain thing. Yeah, I could see that.
Some great musicians like Janis Joplin, like Amy Winehouse. They all died so young.
True.
Why not?
That's it. Yeah, exactly.
That's not silly at all. We all need music. It keeps us going.
But that's the first thing that cropped to mind. And then I did also write down Agatha Christie, just because I was like, I'd love more Agatha Christie stories, even though there's loads. I'd love more, definitely.
I don't know if she really had amnesia, or she just was really an ordinary husband and wanted to hurt him. I hope it's the second part.
Hey, we'd find out so much. See, there we go.
See, on a totally different note, have any of you guys ever seen the movie Yesterday? Have you ever seen it?
Yes.
I think so.
The Beatles one.
It's so good. So it's about there's this sort of moment in time that kind of goes a bit wonky, and this guy wakes up one day and he's singing a Beatles song to his friends, and they're like, I've never heard this song before. And he realizes that the world now exists without the Beatles music. It's just really random. So he decides to, the world needs the Beatles music. So he starts writing them, and then he becomes really famous singing and writing all the Beatles songs. It's so good.
Yeah,
It's just, it's sort of, this
good.
conversation's reminding me of this,
Yeah.
you know, it's sort of like similar. But yeah,
Yeah.
recommendation for you guys. That's a really good film.
It is
I like
good.
the way it's very grounded in reality as well, which I like.
That one with Ricky Gervais where nobody can lie. Do you remember that? That
Oh,
reminds
The
me of that
Invention
one.
of Lying.
Oh,
That's
Yeah,
really,
so
really
it's
good.
kind of like, he can say
Yeah.
anything because everybody believes him.
Yeah.
Same kind of thing. I love that.
Brilliant.
There's so much humour in that, isn't there? Really.
Yeah, definitely.
Humor and danger.
Yeah.
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 Larissa said, I had a dream my sisters and I were in our family kitchen and our long gone dog suddenly trotted in and we all hugged him and asked him where he'd been, and he said he'd been on an adventure. Told my sister and realised I had the dream on his birthday. Oh, I love stuff like that. I love it when things like that happen.
Don't listen, Gally, you're not dying.
No.
That's so lovely. Oh.
Claire said it was interesting how they all responded differently. So all the characters in the book, Linda lost herself totally, Ruth embraced it, and Kit challenged it. Yeah, I love that as well.
Yeah,
they were all so different. Cameron's laughing at Madame Duvet is the greatest villain name.
I'm sorry, but yeah, I just.
Claire said I found it really. That's what she used to me now. Claire said, I found it really chilling how the girls were basically sacrifices for those considered to be greater minds.
True.
Yeah.
And how they knew that this was happening to them, but they were totally powerless to prevent it.
Very
yeah, because that's where like the horror kind of lies, because they just couldn't do anything. There was no hope for them to do it. Oh, sorry, go on, Melina.
I think it really taps into those kind of teenage fears of identity, doesn't it? Of like trying to find out who you are and not knowing who you are and finding your place in the world, and then like then being sacrificed for like the greater good of somebody else. I just think it taps into all those angsty feelings that you have as a teen.
It taps in very much like what Freddie did, you know, in Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yes.
You've got no control when you're asleep.
Yes.
Somebody can come into your mind when you're asleep and make you do stuff. That's a very primal fear, I think, for humans, isn't it?
Yeah. I wonder about once, right? I mean, I do sleep talk a lot, and sometimes I do things in my sleep. But I wonder whether like someone's trying to get into my crazy mind. But once, I think I've said this before, but once I dreamt there was a snake in the bed, and it was definitely there. I'm not being rude, right? It was definitely there, and I literally pinned Kevin's arm down on the bed, and I was going, "Die, snake, die!" Like, and I was whacking his arm so hard, like, and then I woke up whilst I was doing it, but I was like, somebody must have been like telling me to do that, because why would I even do that? Like, and he never forgets it. He tells everybody.
Our sleep talk terribly, and Carl used to come up and tell all these stories of what I used to say in the night. But his favourite one was when I sat up bolt upright and threw myself forward, and I kept throwing myself forward. He said, "Sharon, what are you doing?" I said, I'm trying to get a fish. I'm trying to fish. Well, the fish is catching. We used to have conversations. He get up in the morning, he says, "Oh, you need me to do this today," and I'm like, "How do you know?" Well, you told me in the night.
I can have
that's so funny.
It's amazing. Your mind is such a weird and wonderful, sometimes scary place. Definitely, isn't it?
Definitely.
Kirsty said, "Have you read the Isabel Greenberg graphic novel about the Brontes?"
No, I haven't. I shall write that down though, because I'm always on the lookout. Isabel Greenberg.
I have problems with graphic novels. I really do, because when I read, I see a film in my head. I see it actually a film. And so a graphic novel just confuses my brain.
Oh, yeah, I never thought about that.
I'm like, that's not what I'm singing when I'm reading that. So it's weird.
Yeah. Claire said, I wonder if Ruth channeled differently and stayed conscious because she embraced it rather than feared it. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Cameron said, I'd tap into Tolkien to give him... I'm sorry, I'll tap into Tolkien to have him tell me about all these secret puns in Lord of the Rings, like the Brandywine River, translating to the Throthy Beer River for reasons.
I agree with you. Yes.
That would be a good one. Narissa said Jill Murphy, so we could have Mildred's final year. Oh yeah, so we could have Mildred's final year. Miss Cackles, yeah, that would be a good one. April said I would pick Shirley Jackson or Flannery O'Connor. Oh, good ones. Heather said yes to Yesterday, the film, Shelly, that you recommended. Susan said Fab Film as well. Narissa said, be perfectly happy for the Beatles music to be wiped.
Shocking
Enjoyed the film,
Narissa.
though,
Shocking
Narissa
statement.
Claire said, that just reminds me of the Red Dwarf episode where Rimmer creates bubble wrap.
Yes!
Yes! Oh, I'd forgotten that. Oh dear, I'm gonna have to rewatch that now. So there are so many good parts in the book. Like, did you have a favourite moment or favourite part, Shelley?
Oh, crumbs. See, because I've been speed reading
so
it for the last 2 days, it's really difficult to pick out a sort of favourite part. Probably for me, it was when you realised that, Ellis was actually Emily Bronte and that was the code word. And like, then she became not scared of her anymore. And then they had like this sort of like connected relationship, and then I just thought that was so cool, So once, and then we started to realise what was actually going on in the middle part before it got like really scary again at the end. I really enjoyed that part. I just thought it was so much fun, just the concept of that. It was really fresh, unique. I had never seen that before in a book. It was quite new to me, and I was like, oh, I like that. So that's probably my favourite bit.
Yeah, I love that. How about you, Melina? Did you have a favourite moment?
I think rather than favourite moments, I'd have to say it's the setting itself, and also Madame Duvet, because I just thought she was such a deliciously sinister villain. I really enjoyed her. I thought she had slight,
she was.
She had slight Mrs. Danvers quality.
Yes, very much.
And I just thought she was ruthless, and like her with the side hustle with her art projects, and then like how she completely loses it at the end where everything's on fire and clearly her entire world's being destroyed, and like all these, there's so much peril, and all she's worried about is whether the new things that are being produced from, whether they can be saved. It's like you've got a girl possibly burning up in the bedroom, you've got your life with your son falling apart, there's all this going on, and and she's like, no, my paintings. I just thought she was a really well written character, and I really, really enjoyed disliking her.
She was so great to dislike. Yeah, and I know she was played by Uma Thurman in the film, but in the book I just imagine her played by Eva Green.
She would be good.
That's who I kept picturing like in my mind as I was reading, with clothes on, because Eva Green, like, I've seen naked that many times now because she's always naked in all her films.
Boring
with clothes on
now. Wearing clothes is different.
But I kept imagining her. Did you have a favourite moment, Sharron?
I love that whole ending. I love the ending so much. I love the fact that they dash the notebook into the fire. You'll burn it before I'll let you have it. It was also dramatic. The fact that they found out that 20 other children have all been committed to a mental asylum. 3 of them unalived themselves, and yet she thinks it's okay to carry on. And then my favourite part, which made me burst out laughing, really, was when Kit says, I've got to go in and get Linda. And Ruth, who is supposedly her best friend, says, let her burn. I'm not risking my life. She needs to burn. We need to save ourselves. And I actually had to put the book down at that point because I was crying laughing. I was just like, oh, well, there's a turn up. Even Sandy, lovely docile Sandy, no, I'm not risking my life. Let her burn. Let her burn.
Oh dear.
Brilliant.
That did make me laugh with Ruth. I was like, she kept going on about how good friends
She's my
they
best
were.
friend in the world,
We came together because we were the opposites, and then just let her burn. Well, I'm not going back.
I love that. I love that. That just made. Honestly, I love that.
Yeah.
And she went up and got her to leap out the window, right? She was on the second floor, which in America means it's 3 stories high, and she went
Yeah.
onto grass. How's she not dead? I mean, I don't. What did they throw down? Something? I just the silliness of it. Even though that lovely part with her father was beautiful,
Yeah,
the silliness
I
of it
love
just
that. That was a
made me
good
kind
bit.
of. I just thought, oh, this is so lovely. I love this.
Let's hope they put the paintings there for her to land on.
Oh,
So
yeah.
Madame Duvet was like, no!
Exactly.
my paintings! Oh dear. Yeah, so I love that scene as well. But I've got 2 favourite scenes. Well, 3 if I include the end. But I love the scene in the hallway when she first sees the man standing behind her.
Yeah, that was so creepy.
It was really creepy. And even her reaction as well at that point is just the reaction like totally I would just scream like, you know.
You would.
Yeah, seeing it in that mirror. And I also love the pencil scene.
Oh, yeah,
where,
that
like,
was good
the
too.
ghost snaps the pencil in half and then, is it Sandra, I think it is?
Yeah.
And just like throws the pencil
launches it into her arm, yeah.
And I was like, whoa, these ghosts being like serious business throwing pencils at people's arms. But it did some damage because, like, you know,
they
had to stop the bleeding and everything.
And she's like, why did you throw the pencil at me? Well, it wasn't me.
I mean, she must have seen it was like floating in the air, snapped in half, but she still blames poor old Kit for it. So I love that scene as well. I thought it was brilliant. April said the end with her dad was so touching and beautiful.
It was
one
lovely.
of my favourite bits. Larissa said, I stand by my decisions. I think that's about the Beatles.
Fair enough.
April said duvet was we're all calling her duvet now.
I'm sorry Lois.
duvet was a capitalist queen, laughy face. Yes. Heather said, oh my god, the fire scene, they spent so much time arguing. I was like, go yeah. And Lucy said, if we know anything about Final Girls, it's that we can fall from high and be grand. That's very true.
You just fling her out a third story. That's 3 stories up in the States. Do you know what I mean?
I'd stand no chance. No, I wouldn't stand a chance.
She'd probably bounce.
And also, I just want to shout out to Natalie, the cook.
Yeah.
She saved the day.
Yeah, she saved the day in the end. I mean, I kind of imagined her as like English as well, like the way that she was talking, like not American and that. But I love Natalie.
She was great.
Thought she was brilliant.
Yeah, she was good. Good side character.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, Susan. Susan said we've been very entertaining. So we all love the ending, and then obviously, you know, we get quite like with Stranger with My Face. Actually, you get quite a sudden that's it kind of thing. Yeah. So we don't find out anything. So what do we think happened, like, after that last page? Like, what happened to Madame Duvet? What happened to Blackwood? What do you think, Sharron?
Well, I mean, it depends how badly Blackwood burnt, isn't it? If it burnt completely, they've got no evidence to prove any of it happened. Old Madame Duvet and Farley and Jules, they'll get away with it probably. So with their word against the girls. Yeah. If only partly burns and they find the evidence in the office of the other 20 girls that they've done it to, then they'd probably end up in prison, I guess. Yeah. And I'm assuming that Kit, you know, runs off with the Rosenblums, and she's happy and probably, you know, gives her stepdad a bit of a what for when he comes back from his year honeymoon.
Hopefully. How about you, Melina? What did you think happened after?
Yeah, I had the same thoughts about if it burned down, there wouldn't be any evidence, and clearly nobody's picked up on the evidence before that all these girls have been committed to asylums beforehand. And I've just got this feeling that sneaky Mrs. Duvet would get away with it again and go and set up in another place. I'd like to think that, because Jules is more aware, that he may somehow find a way to break free, but I think he's under his mum's thumb, isn't he? Sadly, so.
Yeah.
I thought it was really interesting how, like, because he is a young person, isn't it? I mean, he's older than the girls, but you get the impression that he's not he's not mid-20s or anything. That she's not willing to sacrifice Jules in the same way for these purposes, but she's quite willing to completely manipulate him and make him do all the dastardly deeds. So maybe he will he'd continue being a tortured soul, and she'd get away with it and create another school. And maybe Kit will make it her life's mission to
bring her down.
The downfall.
Yeah, that would be good. How about you, Shelley? What did you think would happen after the abrupt ending?
Well, I was thinking if this was sort of like modern day times, like you've got several witnesses to attest to the fact that there's been these other schools and what's actually happened within them. So all you would need to do would be a little bit of investigation in terms of with the police, and they would find out that that's all true and know that something sinister was going on. But in the 70s, I'm not so sure it would have been as easy as that. So I think they probably could have got away with it, which is really quite frightening. And at the end of the day, Madame Duvet could just turn around and say all these girls are, we've discovered while they've been here that they're actually quite troubled souls and they all need extra help, and they might end up being put into a mental institution anyway. So I was like, I don't know what way that would go, but I kind of like how she does have an abrupt endings, because sometimes I quite like to not know and then have my imagination just continues the story on. But what I would also like to see, I would love to see her parent or mum and dad. Was it Dan? Was he he's so forgettable, like his name. I've even forgot his name. I think it's Dan.
Douglas is his name, I think.
Was it? Well, anyway, I would love them to have got the telling off of the century and like to put them in their place. I would love to have read that part, just like, see, this is what happens when you put me away and go off on a honeymoon for a year. But I would have liked to have seen them get a dressing down. So,
and Claire's put a really good comment here saying that those spiritual connections haven't been closed, so they could be taking the spirits with them.
Which
is
that's
a good
one. Yes, absolutely, yes.
That's a good one.
Well, and then I thought as well that I could imagine Madame Duvet like running back into the house to save her paintings, and like, so then she would burn with the fire and then become part of the spirits with the spirits, and then like a sequel would be like Jules trying to like tap into his mom's kind of try and tap into his mom's thoughts and stuff to like gain the power. Like, and I was like, see, this is why I like
mother in the basement.
Duvet's return.
Down the dog.
But that's why I like an abrupt ending though. I mean, not all the time, depends how it's done, but so you can like have a little think about it. But Heather said, did anyone else think the ending was abrupt? I wanted the car to turn out to be Madame Duvet and not the Rosenblums. Kirsty said like the Shevingtons from the Fog series.
I did think of the Fog series actually.
Yeah, definitely. And then Heather said then kidnap Kit and then just take her off when Mrs. Duvet turned up in the car. Teddy said, I really like the sudden ending. It leaves you with some closure, but also possibility of a sequel. Oh, it's so sad that we didn't get a sequel. Narissa said, never quite get people wanting to know what happens next when it's done. It's just my curious mind. Like, I'm like... But I like making it up and just like, thinking
Me too.
about it. Shelley said, and I can't speak. Heather said, Shelley, write this story, please and thank you. It would be so good, right? Like, you'd have to like channel his mom's spirit and she'd be like all evil and make him do stuff and send him not to wear them white flares. Oh dear. So out of 5 then, just to finish off, like out of 5 stars, if you give star ratings, if you don't, that's no problem, but out of 5, what would you give this? Shelley?
Probably 4, a solid 4, I think.
Nice. Sharron?
Same. I score on vibes. because I have to, like on Goodreads and Storygraph and all the others. But so it was a good solid maybe 4.25 for me. I really enjoyed it. It was a really fun read.
Yeah. I loved it. And how about you, Melina?
It was a 5 for me. Yeah, I score on vibes too, and I don't know, there was just something about it that maybe I was just like really in the mood for it as well. And I just had such a fun reading experience with it. It was 5 for me.
It also had really good memories for me because it was connected to a time in my life where I was having a lot of fun. So it's I mean, on Goodreads, I've put it down as a 5 to round it up. It's a good solid read for me.
No, definitely, I agree. Like for me, it's a 4.5. On Goodreads, I'd put it as a 5. So I had a really good time reading this, and thank you, Sharron, for suggesting it, because
thank you so much.
It was
I'm so glad
good.
it was as good as I remember. I remember reading it thinking, oh, this is such fun, and you know what I mean, and probably creepy. So I'm so glad it was as I remembered it. Often it isn't, is it?
Sometimes.
No, that's true.
I find that with point horror, I'm like, this one's good. Oh dear. My memory obviously wasn't, but I liked this one because I didn't expect it to be what it was, and that's what I loved. Like, I love that the blurb didn't even give it away on the back of the book. Like, I just thought it was going to be just a ghost story, and it ended up being so much more. And I just really enjoyed it. And I think I've definitely slept like on Lois Duncan. I've not read enough of her books, but I really appreciate that, and I'm definitely going to rectify that and read some more. She's genius. And thanks everyone in the comments as well. Teddy said great suggestion, Sharron. And fab chat. It's
like the old Duvet all over again.
Oh dear. It's the heat. We're just blaming the heat. It's not me.
I think I'm channeling some kind of sun damage.
I'm so warm, honestly. But Sharron, Shelly, Melina, thank you so much. Like, it's just a pleasure chatting to you.
And thank you, Shelly, so much as well. This is just so much fun. Love to see you guys.
Bye.
And we'll do another one soon.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, definitely. Here we
Thanks,
go.
guys.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye. Thanks, everyone.